Okay, in the next part of today, we are going to move into a game facilitated by Raj, one of our core members. He's fantastic at facilitating games and getting us talking about the tough stuff. So over to you, Raj.
Thank you. Thank you, Brittney. Thanks, Shane and Amul, for a wonderful speech. Great to hear a lot of wisdom, a lot of things to take away. So this activity is we're going to just focus on. So we keep talking about mindset. We keep talking about practicing values, and it came again in the speech as well. So one of the things that we always struggle, or people struggle when we go and talk about values, is okay. You've given me values, but how do I know? How do I change my mindset? How do I use the values to start really living the values on a day-to-day life, rather than just doing practices for the sake of doing things. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the SustainAgility Manifesto, the set of values on the left side, and see how we can use this to start living day by day, right? What are some of the techniques we can use to do it? So one of the activity you're going to do is we are going to install this as an internal operating system on your brain. So you're going to do the ways to do it paraliminal. We call it paraliminal from a psychology perspective. How do you make it as a practice so that it becomes, it's like a software upgrade? And how do we make value stick as a technique? So I'm going to share the screen, and it's a very interactive one. So I would like you to grab a paper and pen, and I want all of you to participate. We're going to draw some pictures to start with. So when you're ready with a paper and pen, and please, I invite you to switch on the camera if you're able to. That'll be great to see the interaction. And when you've got your paper and pen, if you go down to the bottom of the screen, there is reactions, and if you do a thumbs up, I'll know like you're ready, and we can move into the activity. Okay, thanks, Parag. I'll just go ahead and share my screen. Okay, just give me a sec. Okay, here we go. So what's going to happen is you're going to see a word on the screen and then a word highlighted. So that's the value. So when you see that word, you're going to start thinking about how do you relate to that word? What does that word mean for you? And think about it for a moment, and then draw a picture, something that relates to that word, and how you can make meaning of it. Yeah. So let me share the screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you're going to see a value here, and I see co-located minds. So when you think of co-located minds, what comes to your mind? How do you make meaning of what is co-located minds? What does that mean for you? Think about it for a while, and then draw a picture. It can be a metaphor. It can be something that explains what co-located minds is. Or when you think of co-located minds, you think of this. So draw a picture on a paper. Okay, 30 more seconds. Okay, we're going to go into the next one. I see collective outcomes over individual outputs. So when you think of collective outcomes, what comes to your mind? Think about it. How does that relate to you? How do you use this in your day-to-day life? And again, draw a picture that would describe collective outcomes for you. Okay. Okay, I would invite anyone to share what you've created when you're ready. Just share it with the group.
Are you able to see it? Raj?
Yeah, you need to probably take off your virtual background. Unfortunately, it doesn't.
No, no.
But it is there. If you keep it closer to you, I think it's more or less. You can describe. That's fine. Yeah, cool. So, Brittney, would like to share first, and then we can go to Sandeep. Yeah. So explain, share it with the group what you have created, and then explain. Give a bit of description of what that is.
Okay, firstly, apologies for my terrible drawings. Co-located minds, I drew a person in Australia and then a person in what looks kind of like Italy, and drew a brain in the middle and them connected. So I think when I think of co-located minds, I think it doesn't matter where you are, your brain is basically connected. The mindset's the same, you're aligned. And then the second one is just an outcome as a light bulb and two hands in the middle for collective outcomes. And it just says, we did it.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. So we're going to continue and then we'll come back to hear a few more people in a sec.
So mine is this. Can you see the diagram?
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
I have 4 circles or semicircles, and then I have the mind in between, and then those circles actually becoming rectangle in between. So you are getting ideas. You are basically being the co-located minds, right? So you are making sure all your ideas are co-located, and then you're creating out of that something unique as one, right? So irrespective of the boundaries or the location or the ideas or the culture, wherever you are, we are open for sharing and caring of all the ideas and creating something unique out of it. So that's how I basically see that. It need not be circle, it can be a rectangle when you combine these together.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll continue on to the next and then we'll come back.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Thank you. So the third one is speed to value over speed to market. So what speed to value means for you when you think of speed to value? Okay, we go to the next value. The last part is empathy and trust over command and control. So when we think of empathy and trust, what is that? You live with empathy and trust every day. What do you see when you think of empathy and trust? What do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear? And draw a picture of empathy and trust. Okay, got a little 10 more seconds, and then we can come back to the discussion. Okay, anyone could share when you're ready? Who would like to share? Go ahead, Gator. Awesome. You're still on mute. Still on mute.
I get at that. Okay, so shared vision started with the I, and then everybody, well, for me, co-located minds is about shared vision. And so that's there with the I, having the shared vision and everybody seeing the same thing. Collective outcomes are kind of, two people been able to get a slam dunk into the basketball.
Awesome.
Speed to happiness. Speed to value, just for me, is about happiness. People being happy as a result of getting the value.
Awesome.
Empathy and trust. I always think of that game where you stand in a line and support people as you potentially fall back. So having each other's back and kind of like in a circle is the visual I always have for that.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. We'll hear from one more. Parul, would like to share? Yeah.
Hi. So I have drawn collective minds where the location can be different, but people think alike and they're aligned to the ideas. They may have confusion, they may have questions, they may have doubts, but they work towards a common purpose. They have alignment to a purpose where they want to work towards. So that's, for me, is collective minds, where they have commonality of goals, commonality of purpose. The second thing that I want to speak about is collective outcomes. So we may start at different thought process, but together, what you see here is that collective outcome, like a puzzle that we will work together towards.
Awesome.
And I was only able to build a little bit on empathy and trust. So if you can see, we support each other. And that's how we build empathy and trust. It's a big journey and it takes its own course, but we try and put ourselves in the other person's shoes and we try to build that empathy. One, we have empathy, the other person is going to see that. So if that is our default, then trust will build on the top of it.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That's great. A lot of great thoughts being shared and creativity there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a breakout room and think of which value of this 4 is closer to you. And you can join that room. So the rooms are named based on the values. And have a conversation with your peers when you join the breakout room around what are some of the techniques that we can apply to start practicing this. How do we practice this? And also, how do we measure? How do we know that we are practicing this? How do others know that we are practicing this when we start practicing one of the value? So I would invite you all to join the breakout room and have a conversation about how do we practice these techniques, start living this value, and how do others know that we are practicing this, right? So I'm just going to open the breakout room and you will get a notification. You can join any room that you'd like to, yeah? Okay, welcome back. So who would like to share the summary of gist of your discussion in the breakout? Prasanna, would like to go first?
Yeah, I can. So, I mean, pretty much it was good in the conversation with Brittney about the co-located minds, and she was actually kind of exchanging about her experience on how actually, what level. I think it is just not always like the team level. It's going to be like very, very essential to also have the leadership, and it helps understand an organizational setup, where is everyone at before we kind of understand it, how actually it makes a big difference in bringing co-located minds to kind of generate the collective outcomes rather than looking at the outputs. Did you add anything more, Brittney?
Just to add on, I think it's one of the first things that you coach, C-suite and senior leadership on is the concept of how they can help support co-located minds. And in particular during COVID, it was around what kinds of tools and support would enable the people to have a joint vision and a joint understanding and have that co-located mindset. That was a really big shift, I think, in coaching landscape. Previously, there wasn't so much focus on that because a lot of our efforts were about face-to-face interactions. So the big shift was around, okay, how do we still achieve co-located minds in a distributed environment? And there's been big strides towards that, which is quite exciting.
What are some of the practices that you can we can use to start practicing that? Because yes, we are all super distributed now. We're all like, even the team is split across even in the same location. What are some of the practices that we can start doing to actually bring that together to life? Any ideas, any things?
It's a great question. Gretel mentioned earlier actually about in her drawing, she had common vision. That struck me as one of the key practices that I would start with is, even, I think I mentioned yesterday as well, we did an experiment of having the vision statement for the teams or for whatever the initiative was as the background of every single call. So that visibility of the common goals and objectives, the vision, what are we trying to get to, was a really powerful tool to get the teams on board and constantly thinking and determining all their actions towards that common goal. So that's just one idea. Anyone else?
Awesome. Gretel, Karthik, others in the room, any thoughts on how do we start practicing these values? Any techniques that you shared in the room?
Yeah, so we were talking about trust, and the reason is, like, I just took the metaphor from the Patrick Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of a team, right? And that looks to be a universal, can be applied universally wherever we go, because trust is the foundation, right? Whatever we want to do, if we build the trust and build anything on top of that, will stand forever, right? So in this case, co-located minds, collective outcomes, speed to value. If you put that in an order, I thought like trust should be the foundation, and whatever we want to build, whether speed to value or collective outcomes or whatever order, like prioritization can be done later, but whatever order or ranking we want to do, without a trust, it doesn't going to work.
Yeah.
Right. So
and it is even more important considering the fact that we are all in a distributed hybrid environment or a distributed environment, and demographically different as well. So we are looking at more and more global teams working together on an outcome. That means that empathy and trust is even more important than anything else for teams, because we need to be cognizant of the diversity, and how do we include every voices in the room, and how do we make sure that we are cognizant of those diversity as well and pay attention to that. And trust plays an important role in terms of trusting the process, trusting the structure, and trusting your colleagues more than what is needed. Thank you. Thank you for great sharing, wonderful sharing. I will hand over to Brittney to take forward.
Thank you, Raj. What a great game. That was wonderful. Something we can actually leverage in our own arenas, I'm sure. Okay, so now we're going to transition into a 10-minute break where you can get some refreshments and come back energized for the next part of our session. And when we come back, we'll be hearing again from from Paramita, executive and leadership coach, and international speaker, Thomas Brookhammer, author of The Leaders Factor, and Prasanna Sankaran, enterprise transformation coach, and also a core member of our team here today. So we'll be back for the panel discussion in 10 minutes time. Thank you, everyone.